Bom dia, pessoal. Primeiramente, obrigado aí por mais um ano de VTEX Day, um evento maravilhoso, e esse ano a gente trazendo um conteúdo aqui mais focado em desenvolvimento, em tecnologia. A gente vai fazer uma track agora muito focada em performance. A gente trouxe o Steve, que é fundador e CEO da Builder.io. É uma empresa que a gente está super próximo aí, a gente gosta muito do trabalho que eles fazem. Então a gente vai começar com uma sessão de troca aqui de perguntas e respostas aqui, eu junto com o Steve. E a ideia é que depois a gente consiga abrir aí para vocês um tempo de perguntas e respostas vindo de vocês. Então, se já puderem ir pensando em perguntas e respostas para o final, a gente vai tentar aí, esses 40 minutos que a gente tem, dar uma estendida e conseguir atender vocês. So, thank you, Steve, for coming. It's our pleasure to have you here. So, I think that we can start. Well, the first question that we have for you is that our customers are also looking for excellence in performance, looking for maximum scores in performance tests, like how and whatever, regardless of the complexity of the operation. So how do you see this balance between performance and user experience?
Yes, absolutely. Also, hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. So, and just so you know, I think it gave a great intro, but yeah, we build sort of a drag and drop system. You can connect to FastStore, Gatsby, React, stuff like that. People want to build pages quickly, and they want the pages to load very fast. And so, at the end of the day, performance has a few really important implications. It definitely impacts the user experience. If your website loads very slow, people just get impatient, they go away. They might be on an app, they want to go open a store, from a link, and if the store opens too slowly, they just disappear. Obviously, if they disappear, they're not buying anything, and that's costing you money. And so the very, very simple answer is, if you do only one thing, if you just make your store faster, your UX gets better, people enjoy browsing the store, they'll look at more products, they'll spend more time, and they're more likely to buy products. But second, and as a result of that, you will make a lot more money. So at the end of the day, every store's purpose is to sell products. And if your store is slow, that's almost the most painful way to not be selling products, right? You want to sell products to people who want to buy the products. You don't want them to go away because they had such a annoying time browsing the slow site. Also remembering that, they might be on the subway, they might be on the bus, they might be up on a mountain. They're not always at home on a fast device and a fast network connection. In fact, we often find that people do a lot of their shopping when they have a poor network connection because they're bored. They're on the bus, the network is bad, but they're very bored, so they're browsing things and they want to buy. Now, the other important thing, though, is sometimes people get really excited and they want to add lots of fancy features to their store, right? When you go to the homepage, they want to have a video and animations and, live stream and all this stuff. Sometimes when you're trying to make that really fun, fancy UX, the performance can suffer. And that's what can be really hard, is to find a balance. Sometimes it depends on trade-offs. Like, okay, maybe we don't want to have a big giant video on the homepage for the mobile devices. We want to do things a little bit simpler so they load faster. But sometimes it depends a lot on your tools. Sometimes if you're on the latest, greatest tooling, like FastStore, a lot of the best practices are built in, and so you have good DX, good UX, good performance, without having to worry about it too much. Did that answer most of your question? I'm happy to follow
Sure.
up.
First, it answers. Do you have an example, any case that you can bring that make this balance okay?
Yeah, you mean like a merchant? Yeah, I mean, or do you mean like merchant examples or like examples of finding a balance?
Could be merchants, yeah.
Sorry?
Merchants.
Yeah, so one of our bigger merchants, it's everlane.com. They sell a lot of products, mostly in the United States. They are like a fancy brand. They want to look very premium and sell products at a high price. So they need to always look better than every other store, and they put a lot of money into it. The problem, of course, is sometimes trying to do too much is hard for performance. So what they did is they moved over to Next.js for mobile first. So if you use Next.js, Guillermo and Vercel team make a very good framework for making very fast websites. Faststore VTEX is very similar, so same benefits. They moved just the mobile device traffic to Next.js, and they made sure to send fast pre-rendered pages, so you see the page very quickly. And they strike a balance of very, very mobile optimized performance for mobile devices, and sometimes they're a little bit more relaxed for the desktop, because browsing on desktop, you probably have Wi-Fi, you probably have fast laptop. It still matters, but maybe not quite as much. And they use that as an easy way to slowly migrate everything. So soon, desktop and everybody for Everlane will be on the fast website. And I don't remember the exact number, but their conversions obviously went up. So when the performance went up for mobile, purchases goes up. You can look at some stats we have as well that just show every time you make the website faster, people purchase more. And at the end of the day, if you want to make an excuse, like if you're a developer and you work at a company and you're trying to say, hey, let's make a more modern store, let's make a faster store, if they ask you why, go to Google and search. You'll find so many stats about the store gets faster, conversions go up 20%, bounce goes down 100%, like crazy, crazy statistics you'll see over and over again that when the store loads fast, everything gets better, more money comes in, and you as the developer usually feel good about it. It feels good to make very fast things that your users enjoy. It's kind of, to me, I'm a developer too, it's one of the most important parts that makes me happy. People like the store that I'm building, people like the product I'm building. The worst thing is when people come to me and say, hey, that thing you made is slow and awful and I hate it. That's not fun as a developer, you don't want to hear that. So using modern best practices, which I think we'll talk about more, using VTEX and Faststore and React will set you up to have very happy customers and to look good, and to your company you could say, hey, I made us a lot of money, thank you, give me a raise, that type of stuff.
Cool, nice. And you said, people like fancy home pages with videos and a lot of content, but there are more things, some other things that affect the performance of a site, not on the contents. And
yeah, you want me to jump into those? Yes.
Cool.
So we do a ton of performance testing. So our product allows you to build pages in a way that we can generate code, and we can generate code in many different ways. So we can generate code for React or Vue or Svelte. We can generate code with images one way or images another way. So that allowed us to do a lot of tests. What actually makes a site fast? Like you get a lot of tips online and they say, do this, do this, do this, but you don't have like data that shows. And sometimes you'll do what the person online said and your store doesn't get faster. You measure it on Lighthouse and it's not any faster and you're like, that took me a lot of time, that's annoying. So what we did is we made a tool where we can change the code of your store, and then we can run the performance test on the changed code, and we can tell you exactly how much faster a certain change will make for your performance. What we found was there were 4 things that actually really make an impact. Like if you make sure you do all 4 things, you can have a very fast store. So the first one is the store has to send the response. They call it the time to first byte, really fast. And the only way to do that is from a CDN. So you need to use like the edge. If you hear the edge, it basically means, a lot of people host their website in Virginia in the United States. And in order to request a page from the United States, from Brazil, it takes a long time. It's very slow. So that's why CDNs exist. CDNs will have edge nodes here in Brazil. So when you ask for a page, it'll come right from Brazil. And it's very fast. So as long as you use the CDN, which good platforms like VTEX Faststore will have that built in for you, or if you want to do it yourself, it's more complicated, but you can use AWS, CloudFront, stuff like that. But as long as you always serve from a CDN cache, then it'll always be very fast. But that's only the first part. So the page will hit you fast, but the page has content inside. It'll have images, it'll have JavaScript, and it'll have CSS. So the second thing is if you have very slow CSS, it still takes a long time to load. So the CDN gave you something very fast, but the CSS is downloading, and it slows everything down. So the important part for the second one, for CSS, is just make sure you're not loading CSS that isn't on the page. So if you have a home page and it has a hero and products, but you have one giant CSS file, this one CSS file has all the CSS for every page on the website, and if you're downloading that one gigantic CSS file just for the home page, that's going to be slow. What you want to make sure is you have small CSS files, and you only load the homepage CSS for the homepage, and then that'll load much faster. The third one is images. So you may have seen before, you load a website, but it's kind of blank. There's text, but there's no images, so there's big white empty boxes. And if you're in e-commerce and you're selling products, those boxes are where the products are. So if you can't see the products, you don't want to buy what you can't see. You need the image to load as fast as possible. So that's where you need to make sure that you serve really, really small images, really, really compressed images. And you also want to make sure you serve different images for each device. So a desktop browser might load a very big image, something like this. But on mobile, it only needs a small image for a smaller device. So you want to make sure that you use either there's the picture tag, there's the source set property for the image tag, or there's some other CSS tricks to make sure a small screen loads a small image and a large screen loads a large image. And that way, you're not wasting time downloading. When people are trying to look at your products, they're probably visiting your website to see, does this product look nice? Do I want to buy this? So you need to make sure they can see the product as soon as possible, even if every other part of the page has loaded. And the fourth thing that matters a lot is JavaScript. A lot of people accidentally have way too much JavaScript on their website. It happens accidentally when you start building more and more. You add features to your homepage. You add a very cool slide out cart widget where you say, I want to buy this, and the widget flies in, and you have all those cool JavaScripts to edit the cart right there in the browser. The problem is if you don't monitor how much JavaScript you're loading, and if you're not smart about how you do code splitting, so basically making sure that automatically one page only includes the JavaScript for that one page. You're not pulling in JavaScript for the product page or the collection page or any other page just for the home page. A lot of people accidentally include way too much. And when you have way too much, the page might display fast, but it takes a long time to interact. So you might see the page, and you might say, oh, tell me more about this product. And then you tap it again, and you're like, it's not working. That's because the JavaScript is downloading, and it's very, very frustrating. Some people will think your website is just broken, and they're like, well, I can't buy a product from a broken website, I'm just going to leave. And so that's where there's really two approaches. The first approach is spend a lot of time manually, importing JavaScript only when you need it, or usually a smarter approach to have good DX, make it easy to build, and mostly not have to worry about it, is use a good framework. Use FastStore, use Gatsby, use Next.js. Use a framework that most of the stuff is built in. Of the four things I said, serving from CDN, optimized minimal CSS, fast, small images, and minimal, small JavaScript, a lot of frameworks like FastStore will do that automatically. So you don't have to worry about it most of the time. And that's usually the smartest thing. If you don't do that, then you usually have to worry about, every time you push code, you have to worry, did I make the performance worse? Because you might accidentally shoot yourself on the foot. You might accidentally cause problems any day. Every bit of code, you're testing it, you're going, oh, new problem, let's fix it. And when you have a store to run, if you're always having to worry about performance degradations, like performance going backwards, you might accidentally spend too much time worrying about performance versus letting your tools take care of it for you. If you use Builder.io, we'll make the images small, we'll make the CSS small, we'll make the JavaScript small. If you use FastStore, you'll serve from the edge, you'll have code splitting for small JavaScript. The rule of thumb is everything's small. The bigger the JavaScript, the bigger the CSS, the bigger the image, the slower. So make your website very simple, very small, make it load fast, and everything's better.
Nice, nice. A lot of things to worry, huh?
Yes.
Okay, talking about scripts, I think that another pain point that affects the performance of many of our clients is the third-party scripts. Now, even if it's through a tag manager or directly inline in the pages, what's your suggestion to avoid this type of problem?
Yes. So this one's a very painful problem. So it often happens that you as a developer make a very fast website and you're very proud of it. You say, hey, look, I got great performance. The business will make more money. I'm so happy about my fast site. And then the business says, okay, we need analytics. We need some custom reviews. We need Google Optimize. We need third-party scripts. We have lots of tools we want to integrate, and we want you to add lots and lots of JavaScript so we can do all this great stuff. And then suddenly your fast site gets really, really slow, and you're kind of frustrated because it's not even your code. Excuse me. It's not even your code that was the problem. It was somebody else's code, and your business team is saying, hey, make the site faster, and you're like, this is not even my code. Somebody else's code that you told me to put on the website is making the website slow. What do you expect me to do? In my last company, this was a big fight. Everybody would just always fight. No, get rid of the third-party scripts. And the marketing team says, no, we need the third-party scripts. If we can't do analytics, we can't make money at all. And then fight. But there is a solution. The problem with the third-party scripts is they run on the main thread of the browser. So the browser, like Chrome or Firefox or whatever, they have 2 threads. Most people only use the main thread. The main thread is where they render your page, where they run your JavaScript, where they decompress and decode your images. Basically, the main thread does all the hard stuff. And you need the main thread to not be busy. When the main thread is busy, the site is unresponsive. So if code is running on that main thread and you try and tap on a button, the button won't do anything. It won't do anything until the main thread is clear and you can actually start using the page again. The problem is all those third-party scripts also run on the main thread. So you made your code fast and people are trying to use your great website and all this third-party code is just running, and it's making your site slow. So there is a solution. There's another thread in the web browser called the worker thread. You may have heard of web workers. You may have heard of service workers. You may have heard of shared workers. Those are kind of new. But the workers are really cool because they give you another thread. So when code runs on the other thread, your website is not affected. Your users can click on buttons. They can add products to cart. They can shop. They can even purchase. The idea, of course, is can you get the third-party code in the other thread so that it's still doing what it needs to. It's still providing analytics or A/B testing or personalization, but it's not hurting the performance of your website. The problem, though, is the third-party scripts will use main thread variables. So they need to use window and documents and the DOM. They need to say document.query selector, listen to, add event listener, click. And if you run them by default in the web worker, they will error, they will break, because the web worker doesn't have window and document and DOM. There's no add event listener for clicks in the worker. So when the web browsers, I think it was about 5 years ago, came out with workers, everybody got really excited. They said, this will solve the performance problems, we got it. And then they realized we can't use it. It doesn't do what we need. It's theoretically interesting, but it's not capable. And so there is a solution finally. Our team built something. It's called Party Town. It's supposed to be a place to run your third-party scripts in the web worker. And what it does, it's kind of hard to explain because it's very strange in how it works, but it's very effective. It allows you to run third-party scripts in the web worker, and every time they need to use window or document or the DOM, it'll actually run that in the main thread really quickly and then go back to the worker thread. So what it means is you can suddenly solve most of your JavaScript problems. All you do is integrate Party Town, which is relatively easy, and then you just use an attribute to tell all the third-party scripts to run in PartyTown. That will move all the scripts over to the worker thread, and they will actually run as expected. They will run exactly as the vendor intended, and now suddenly we've been seeing many customers, their score goes from like 20 to like 60, just overnight. Way faster, almost for free, and then your conversions go up. So that's one of the, historically, this was one of the most annoying, most frustrating, most unsolved problems. And now this is kind of the easiest problem to solve. You should look up PartyTown. I think we'll share a link afterwards. But I would highly recommend for third-party scripts that will just wipe out the problem very fast and make your store faster. And you can sleep at night happy that all the scripts run fine, but everything is fast. And your marketing team will be happy. They can have their tools and no more fighting.
Avoid marketing and technology fights, yeah?
Exactly.
Cool. So, and I think that we have a trick question here because I don't know if there's a right answer, but what are the top performance tips that we can have to every developer to consider when coding?
Yes. Yeah, it's a good question. So besides those 4 things, make everything small, make everything fast, and the other thing, move third-party scripts to the web worker, the biggest thing really is to make sure you have a good balance of performance and DX. So you might be listening to me and saying, that sounds really complicated. That's a lot of tips. I have to always remember. I better not mess up. But you're in luck. There are tools that will automate this stuff. There are tools that will do the best practices for you. I would recommend the easiest thing to solve a lot of performance problems and allow you to just write code and be happy and not worry about it is use FastStore. If you're not on it, use it. It has a lot of this built in. Don't worry about it. It just works. Consider using Builder.io. That allows your marketing team to build pages. It allows you to use your React components to customize pages. And all the images, all the CSS, all the JavaScript, all those tips are just automatically done for you. So it'll be fast. And probably use PartyTown too. If you use FastStore plus Builder.io plus PartyTown, you can have a very fast store and you can look like a performance expert without being one. You don't have to know every single tip if you just use really good tools and then every once in a while do performance testing and make sure it's delivering as expected. And if it's not, go bother VTEX if it's FastStore, go bother us if it's Builder.io, and go make issues on GitHub for PartyTown if you think PartyTown is slow. But if any of those things, if you use all 3 of those things, you can have a very fast store, very easy, and mostly forget about everything I've said. Especially if I talk too fast, then it's even better because you don't have to worry about it making sense. Just use the good tools and you'll be okay.
You talk with performance, yeah, a lot of performance, yeah. And I think that finally we have a question here regarding what you said about Builder.io and FastStore. How do you think that is an architecture design that you can compose these tools?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So it's very simple, actually. At the end of the day, the easiest thing is just start with FastStore. If you start using FastStore, you deploy the way that VTEX suggests, and you follow the documentation, that is the bulk of your architecture. That kind of handles all the hard stuff. Then, if you want to plug in more things, PartyTown is just a JavaScript tag that you add. So FastStore has the store, and there's not much difficult architecture for PartyTown. You just add the script. You're pretty much okay, and you don't have to be an expert at the architecture. And then a lot of people connect Builder.io to FastStore, starting with just making landing pages. So usually when you build your store with anything, FastStore or whatever else, you have a fast store, but now marketing needs new pages. Make a new page for a new product launch, make a new page to talk about something for email, advertising, social media, whatever. And there's no time to code up all these pages. So that's where you can plug in Builder.io. Our documentation shows how Builder.io is just a React component. So FastStore using React and Builder.io as a React component just plugs in like any other React component and you're good. Or we should have an integration coming down the line as well, where hopefully soon you can just install or click a button and it's all set up. So hopefully it's just easy. You just kind of connect it and it works.
Nice, very nice. Well, thank you very much, Steve. I think that your content, I think that is very good for us, for all the audience. And I think that now we'll start a kind of Q&A session here. And I will call Bruno here to make the questions that the audience may have. Bruno, please. Yeah.
Alguém tem alguma pergunta? Tem? Aí.
Tá, Steve, a gente está vendo. Peraí. A gente vê hoje muitos frameworks baseados em JavaScript, né? Por exemplo, o Gatsby, o Next.js. A minha pergunta para. Can you hear me now? Alô, alô, alô. Okay. Então, Steve, a gente hoje vê bastante frameworks baseados em JavaScript, então Gatsby, Next. Minha pergunta para você é se você vê alguma outra tecnologia hoje, além do JavaScript, que pode ser competitiva com esses, por exemplo, Python ou algo do tipo assim.
Testing, testing.
Cool.
So yes, Gatsby, Next.js, Faststore, very, very good today. The future, I think, will look a little bit, it will continue to change. So we're working on a framework called Quick. If you haven't seen it, it allows you to write components and your store in JavaScript, but your website loads with no JavaScript. And so there's two other frameworks too. There's one called Astro and one called Marco, and then ours called Quick. All of these are trying very hard to make it so that the browser loads no JavaScript automatically. So you can still write JavaScript, but it never needs to load. Those frameworks are very early. They're not quite ready for everybody to use, but they make websites crazy, 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 crazy fast. Like insanely fast. And so I think in the next 2 years, we will see those frameworks really be adopted. I think Quick will be able to integrate with Faststore. So if you use Faststore today, I think it could continue to evolve to use the new frameworks like Quick. And I do think in about 2 years, we won't talk about worrying about JavaScript anymore. JavaScript is not an issue. We don't have to sweat it. Everything just works and it's fast and it's easy. We're not there just yet. And if you're asking about anything that's not JavaScript at all, I don't know if you like to program in Go or Rust. Those are probably farther off from being widespread adopted. Maybe one day we'll build apps with Rust and WebAssembly. Those are very fun, but they're a little bit challenging still. So maybe in 2 to 5 years, we'll use Quick, and automatically JavaScript will not be a concern, but you can still write it, you can still use your skills. And even with Quick, we're making it so you can use React components. So you can still use the components you wrote in your Faststore, you can use the components you wrote in Next.js and Gatsby, but Quick will automatically make it fast. Maybe in 10 years we'll write in WebAssembly, I'm not sure yet though, but is that helpful? Cool.
Alguém tem mais alguma pergunta, pessoal? Eu vou fazer uma então.
Boa.
Steve, você falou ali desse link, né, entre a experiência do desenvolvedor, e performance, né? Aqui na VTEX a gente está construindo a Faststore e a gente está querendo focar principalmente em performance e também a experiência do desenvolvedor. Como que você vê nessa fase, para você criar uma ferramenta, né? Como que você pode facilitar, né? Porque a gente quer deixar o desenvolvedor fazer o que ele mais gosta, que é codificar. Como que a gente pode, sei lá, as top dicas que você pode dar para a gente construir isso e deixar a experiência para o desenvolvedor o melhor possível?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, at the end of the day, usually the solution is components and compilers. That's usually